right, let's now start from news on Iran. Exiled Iranian Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has directly appealed to US President Donald Trump, urging him to stand with Iranian protesters and help bring political change. Pahlavi raised Trump and praised him for his support of demonstrators and called on Washington to back the Iranian people against the current leadership. Inside Iran, authorities are moving to tighten control. The country's judiciary has issued a stern warning saying there will be zero tolerance for anyone inciting protests or using ambiguous statements to fuel unrest. The warning comes as deadly clashes between security forces and demonstrators continue. Meanwhile, Tehran is signaling diplomatic openings. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says the country is ready for negotiations, but only on the basis of what he called mutual respect, as the US keeps military options on the table. Let's listen in to what Iran's foreign minister said.
ما برای مذاکره هم آمادگی داریم. ولی مذاکره منصفانه، شرافتمندانه، از موضع برابر با احترام متقابل.
Joining me in this discussion is Yossi Kapur-Wasser, who is Israeli intelligence and security expert, and he joins us from Tel Aviv. Thank you, Mr. Kapur-Wasser, for joining me in this discussion. What do you foresee Reza Pahlavi to be doing amidst these protests against Khomeini?
Well, obviously, what Reza Pahlavi is trying to accomplish is that to make sure that President Trump comes good on his promises to take action against the Iranian regime if they kill the protesters. And that's what they do. So he expects the Americans to take action. And this goes along with his call for the demonstrators to go out to the streets and keep the pressure on the regime. And of course, he's worried that the Iranian regime will somehow manage to escape the pressure from the demonstrators and from the Americans as well by presenting readiness to resume negotiations about the nuclear deal. And he's afraid that for some flexibility on the nuclear issue, the American pressure on Iran and the sanctions are going to be lifted, and the entire idea of removing the Islamic Republic from power is not going to materialize.
Yeah, those are his expectations from the US indeed, and we will take that question again. But what is it that he now plans to do, or could be doing, or should be doing? Do we see him re-emerging in Tehran?
Well, I think it's too early for that. It's the pressure on the regime is growing, and we see the activities taken by the regime that demonstrate how vulnerable they are. But at the same time, I don't think that anything is going to happen immediately. Much depends on the decision of the American president. If he decides to take action, especially military action, against the regime, then the pace with which the demonstrators are going to put pressure on the regime is going to grow significantly. If not, then it might a little bit die down. Anyhow, it's too early for Reza Pahlavi to come back to Iran. The regime is still in control of the country by and large, even though it is challenged dramatically by the demonstrators.
How ready is Israel in this situation? Because it says that it is on high alert.
Of course, we are on high alert because, first of all, the Iranians threatened to take action against Israel regardless if something happens or not. They say that even if they identify some preparations to take action against them, they might take action ahead of the Americans, and Israel is one of their targets. They say so. So, of course, we are in high alert. And definitely, if the Americans do carry out military action against the Iranians have promised to retaliate against Israel. So we have to be on high alert anyhow.
All right. Mr. Kapur-Wasser, in your opinion and assessment, how long before the US intervenes?
It's a very big question, and it's hard to say. They don't have airplane carriers in the vicinity of Iran. It's going to take a while. They can carry out an attack from the United States itself or from their bases in the Indian Ocean, but we are not seeing this. They're still considering their option. I don't think they've reached already a decision what to do. So it's going to take a short while before they decide and then go and carry out an attack.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kapawasser, for your assessment. I request you to stay on, however. Viewers, let's also tell you that according to reports, large crowds have gathered in several Iranian cities to show support for the country's clerical leadership. People marched through the streets holding pictures of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Many in the crowds carried copies of the Quran and waved flags of the Islamic Republic. Reports say the demonstrators took place in several cities, including Kerman and Zahedan. In Kerman, crowds marched through the streets chanting slogans. These demonstrations come as Iran faces ongoing unrest amid growing international pressure over its response to recent protests. Request Yossi Kapawasser to join me back in the discussion here. Mr. Kapawasser, the protests, crucial to note here, are not just limited to Iran. They have spread outside of Iran as well. And demonstrations are being held in Los Angeles, London, Berlin. What does this really speak about Khomeini's grip on power in Iran?
Well, the demonstrations outside of Iran by the Iranian in exile are mostly against the regime because these people left Iran and they don't feel secure and they don't feel that the regime represents them. So that's definitely the feeling amongst the Iranians in exile. Many of them are supportive of Israel as well. So this is in support of the demonstrators and in a hope that all of this event will end up by removing the Islamic Republic from power. In Iran, what we see is, of course, there are some people that are supportive of the regime, and they were called to show their support in those demonstrations that you mentioned. And we have to remember these are they represent a minority of the Iranian people. The majority of the Iranian people is clearly against the regime. They have to be very courageous in order to participate in those demonstrations, risking their own lives. It's something that should be highly appreciated by everybody who's looking at what's happening in Iran. And I think that they have the power to, together with the American support, to pose a real threat to Khamenei. And we shall have to see how long they can maintain this pressure. And as I said before, the issue of American involvement is going to be crucial for deciding how long this can hold.
How do you see the sentiments in Iranian protesters? Do you think they'd want restoration to monarchy, or would they rather opt for a democratic regime?
Well, not even the son of the former Shah, Reza Pahlavi, he too doesn't speak about the restoration of the monarchy. He speaks about him coming back in order to overlook the process in which democracy will prevail in Iran. So I think everybody wants free and democratic Iran that would be free from the rule of the Ayatollahs, and that's what they all want.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kapawasser, then, for joining me in this discussion. Moving on, viewers, Denmark has firmly pushed back